What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today, we're talking to a Christian named Duke, who I've represented as Duke Nukem type character. But he's not really Christian, but he follows Jesus and Yahweh, but he claims some really weird shit. I really don't know. I got lost in the conversation, and I'm really hoping that you can help me understand it. So if you want to fuck around and find out what this guy's talking about, then please stay tuned.
Next up, we've got Duke.
What's going on?
There?
How you doing?
Duke, how you doing?
Doing good. Great conversation. That I saw. I was scrolling through and I saw there's no evidence for Jesus. Well, I'm a believer, of course. And
real quick, Duke. What's your age?
I'm 47.
Okay, cool. All right.
And so,
sorry, just got asked.
No, I got you. As a believer, one of the issues that I have with the Christian faith itself, is this concept of Jesus is the salvation, right? He's supposed to be the salvation, and then of course you watch how people kind of you say someone like you would present a question like this, and instead of saying let's discover truth together, or let's see why we believe what we believe, it ends up becoming like automatically at odds. And I know that to a certain degree that can be that's understood, because it's like one disbelieves and one belief. But if we both fundamentally are looking for truth, I just don't see why certain conversations have to turn negative, or you like the impossibility, because you don't believe in Jesus, that it is impossible for you to do anything good, be moral, or anything like that. To me, that sounds like religious rhetoric, to say that that morality is monopolized by Christianity or Jesus himself, when it's like, if you just take a couple seconds to read the Bible, you see a lot of stuff going on where God turns a blind eye, or gives grace, or does this. He's not saying it's not evil, but he's giving grace. It's like, what is that? And the only thing that I can think of is that people are driven by justification for I think guilt or faith, but I don't think people believe the way they think they do. I think that people, and then of course it's easy for me to tell you what to believe, but when you get in that, I guess that deeper experience with your reality or whatever, and you start searching for things, and if Jesus, you try Jesus and it doesn't work, I think there's some validity in people's doubt, especially when you look at the behavior of so-called Christians. You look historically and see the damage that Christianity has caused in people's lives, or all the wars from religion. And then when someone presents facts, it's always, I guess what I'm saying is I think Christians have done a poor job in trying to state the case that Jesus exists, or any relevancy on why he's an important character. And I'm saying that as a believer.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you were saying? Because I was trying to follow everything that you were saying, but I just missed that last statement.
I was just saying that I don't think Christians have done a good job showing the relevancy of the existence of Jesus, or I don't think that they've done a good job at, explaining again, the relevancy, and of course, the evidence that he existed. It's always just through faith, right? And
well, for some Christians out there, sure. I guess maybe as far as where we could start this kind of conversation off with is what convinces you of your God, like the Christian God. Why do you choose to believe in this God?
Well, I look at the alignment of things such as, so mine is more a little inclusive with science, purpose, destiny, and, and cultural development. Not just when I say cultural development, I mean human development from the population not being that many and how we populate. So I had a lot of factors in from more of a scientific perspective, and there I can appreciate what other people would just say logic. I'm like, no, to me that's intelligent design. So my approach is from a more like a balanced. I don't go from, I guess, someone who doesn't believe was like, yeah, you are an extremist because you believe in God, but I look from a more balanced perspective and studying the psychology of the deity himself and the deity's motives versus the religion's motives.
Okay, but what is the reason? As to, like, are there specific like pieces of evidence that cause you to believe in the God of the Bible, or like? So, well, I'm just trying to get a sense of why you believe.
Oh, I believe because when I walk out the word of God. So if I read something in scripture and then I obey it, and then not only do I get the benefits from it, but I see how it actually is a part of reality. And honestly, I even see how this is the part where I say it frustrates me when I see the argument between atheists and Christians, when I'm like, hey, this truth that I got from the Bible, that atheist just did it. And so I believe.
Okay, can I test you on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So how do you feel about the 10 Commandments?
The 10 Commandments, I think they make sense from a cultural perspective. I think they make sense for the establishment of what the people had just come out of Egypt, and God was establishing, his ways to kind of cleanse them from their slave mentality and from.
Okay. So you basically, as a Christian, you adhere to the 10 Commandments. You think that those are good moral commandments to give?
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part. Now, you got to be specific. Are there any of the commandments that you say are bad or are not morally good?
No, they're all good.
Okay, good. I need to establish that first before I sort of challenge like what you said here. Do you consider women property?
No, I consider.
Okay, well, the 10 Commandments do consider women property. They list them amongst the property and say that you shall not covet a man's property. And so when you tell me that, when I see the commandments or, these things from the Bible actually lived out in real life, I can see, God in that, then do you treat women as property in your normal life?
Not at all.
Okay, well then why don't you do that, considering that God mandated that you treat them that way?
Well, because he also said that love is what hinged upon, love is what birthed the commandments, that it was love that, so we consider love like, yeah. And
is it loving, like, I don't know if you have like a wife or a girlfriend or any women in your life, but is it really all that loving to like treat them as property, to tell them that they're not worth anything more than maybe 50 shekels? Like, is that loving to you?
No, but I don't believe the Bible alludes to that, the relationship with women to that.
But it totally does. At every single point, the Bible treats women as property. It says that women are property. The women's consent is never considered as far as marriage goes. Women are always voluntold to get married to somebody. They never have the option in order to marry somebody. Women are usually bought and sold like their property. And even later on, you have God treating Mary like property because he ends up raping her.
Raping her?
Raping, like, forceful essay.
I do know that she had to give permission, and she did say, let it be as you say.
She didn't have to give permission. I mean, the story ultimately has her, like, I guess, lackadaisically giving consent. But the point of the fact is that God never asks for consent. Would you ever enter into a sexual relationship without the consent of the person you're entering into that relationship with?
No. I think
God does. God regularly does. He did with Mary, and he even mandated it in the Old Testament that men take women as wives without giving any kind of thought to consent to the women. The women never give their consent, and consent is never considered of the women. Do you live these things out in your daily life?
No, because the Bible makes it clear to me that I'm supposed to treat my wife as myself and to love her as one flesh.
Well, then that would be a contradiction with God's nature, because God definitely doesn't say that you should do that. Like other than the later passages in the New Testament with Jesus that I guess you could make some kind of argument about that, but I mean, that is going to be in stark contrast and contradiction to how God has treated everybody. And even in the passages where Jesus talks about those things, he never says that women are worth the same amount as men or that they should be treated in the same respect as men. He definitely makes it out to be like they are different and that they are at different levels in the hierarchy in like not only the family, but in God's eyes. So, at all levels of the Bible, right, it treats women horribly. And unless you treat women horribly in your life, then you're not actually living out what God has laid out in the Bible. And this is evidenced by the fact that women were treated horribly up until, women's suffrage. And even after that point, they were still treated horribly. I mean, hell, women weren't given, the ability to have like a banking account until the 1950s or some kind of shit like that.
I think that has to do with more of the Christian interpretation of what women is versus what the Bible actually says, because family meant so much to God. And the word ezer kenegdo is when he created man, the word ezer kenegdo was there. That's EZERKENGEDO, not helper or helpmate that they put it there. That word ezer kenegdo meant equal warrior.
No. That is not what it definitely means. Like a helpmeet, they are meant to be subservient to men. Like that's reinforced all throughout the Old Testament. That's what it originally meant, and that's how the Israelite culture was centered around. That's actually how most ancient Near East cultures were centered. So, I mean, in fact, the Israelite culture actually treated women more poorer than the Israelite cultures. Like the ancient Near East cultures around Israel treated women better than the Israelites did.
I do believe that, I think that's again how it was interpreted versus what was actually said. Because when you look at, say the fall, that's when you see the real relational tear, where it says the woman is going to want to rule over the man, and now the man's going to want to rule over the woman. I see that as more conflictual than the original plan, which was that he wanted us to be together in harmony, where then after the dysfunction of sin, which is where the knowledge of good and evil would play out and you would start seeing mistreatment of each other, that to me would be a normal behavior and consequence of the fall of man, leaving the higher understanding, which is harmony and family and togetherness. Where you watch a lot of Christian families still struggle, like, I'm the man, you're the woman, and this is the, I think that's still a result of the dysfunction that humanity received.
So, sorry, I feel like you just need to actually research like ancient history and the role of women and men in ancient historical culture.
No, I'm saying I agree with you on the abuse. I agree with you on the abuse that it happened, and that's what I'm saying is that I think that what's really happened is that there was a time where, of course, we know that slavery was another thing. So women and, slavery, human abuse was something that was terribly happening. And I just think that that's all a residue of what sin caused.
Oh, no. Okay. So I'm glad that you brought up the slavery aspect, because the slavery aspect is important. Do you know what Leviticus 25:44-46 says?
Where it talks about how to treat your slaves?
No, that's not where you treat your slaves. That's God. Keep in mind, God directly commanding that you take slaves from the nations around you, that you can keep them as property and you can bequeath them to your descendants as property. you can keep them, and and then it differentiates between foreign slaves and Hebrew slaves. So it definitely has. Like, do you think that chattel slavery is a good and moral thing to command?
Well, so one, I'm black, just so you know, and absolutely not. But
Okay.
not just because of that reason. I'm also human, and that's. But again, I think it's still when you said it's God telling them, instructing that, and so I don't make apologies for what the Bible says, mainly because. For one, if I'm going to be crazy enough to believe it, then I can't switch around and change it and try to justify. So when I look at humanity and the take God out of the picture and you see humanity, of course you're going to see that humans are still capable of great evil. However, we are able to learn from our mistakes. We are able to learn how to treat people. We do change and we do correct our errors that we learned from the past. So
Okay. Let me hold on, Duke. Let me ask you this: is God the moral foundation of humanity?
no.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
No.
I guess that's where you would differ from most Christians now, is God
Absolutely.
not. So what, as far as God and morality go, what is your view on God and morality?
God has a more sovereign approach towards reality, not morality, reality, because you clearly see, God deals with mankind and says, I'm going to flood the earth. So I don't separate the deity from his power. It's almost like, okay, he can do whatever he wants. And
so God's immoral to you. You believe in an immoral God.
I believe that God's sovereign. He can do whatever he wants. He's justified.
Okay, so divine command theory, that's what you believe in.
Yeah, divine, definitely divine, because...
So as long as God tells me personally that I can unalive a baby, it's perfectly fine.
I don't think you should.
No, that's not what I asked. I didn't ask if I should. I said that as long as God says that it's fine that I unalive a perfectly healthy 2-year-old child, it's perfectly fine. Like, I'm justified. I'm morally okay in doing that.
No. However, I don't...
But it's divine. God told me to. God has told several people, like, do you know about the story of Jephthah?
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about.
God totally accepts child sacrifice. So I would be totally morally fine for accepting child for offering a child sacrifice to God, right?
No, I wouldn't be morally fine with it. It's still human depravity when I look at, because you got to remember, look at war, for example.
Seems like it's divine depravity to me. Like, it seems like your God is a divinely depraved individual. Why should anybody follow such a psychopath and just all around abhorrent figure? Like, why is that something that you would want to worship?
The same. It's because it's reality. Bad things happen. Good things happen. So again, take God out of the picture.
Right. But I can just say that on a natural perspective. Shit happens. Like, that's a totally normal thing.
That's exactly
shit happens. But if God is real and God has commanded these things, then this is not just shit happening. This is God.
I think when I say that man is created in his image, I think all the madness that we're seeing is all an expression of who he is, because even he takes accountability for that and says, I, God, created both good and evil. So the same God that that created the butterfly is the same God that creates a shark that can eat your kid.
The feeling that I'm getting from you is that you believe in God out of fear, when that's pretty much it.
No, not fear at all. I just feel like I look at God as reality. Not. I think that reality is a conscious being, and whatever. So when I say I'm divine, I'm a part of this divine sovereignty.
So you're not Christian.
I do believe in Jesus. The reason why is because...
Oh my God. I'm sorry, Duke. You're like way all over the place. Like, God is the universe, but also Jesus Christ is real.
I didn't say God is the
universe.
I didn't say God is the universe. I said God is reality. So, what I mean by that... Go ahead.
Well, it's just God is reality. Like, how would you distinguish God from reality then? Why can't reality just be reality? Why do you need a super magical wizard in the sky that grapes a 14-year-old girl to bring his so-called son into reality. Why is that the God that you seem to think exists and you're worshiping?
Well, again, it goes back to the Genesis story. When mankind began to multiply on his own, they were doing evil amongst themselves. So the part where I see God is in the salvation of mankind for the hope of dealing with this madness. So it's almost like if you're a good parent, right? If you're a good parent and your kids are acting crazy and they were not listening to your good instructions, they're not listening to what you built your life around them, and they're not listening. And next thing you know, you got police knocking at your door and chaos breaking out because they're not listening to you. And then the only hope is that someone else will come and help you guide them into maturity. And most parents think that they're not going to survive.
I'm sorry. This is a bit of a fucked up analogy here, because I am a father, and I can tell you right now that even if I had multiple kids, I'm not going to unalive one for the quote unquote sins of the other. And so like this is not connecting for me whatsoever.
Well, I wasn't saying unalive one. I was just talking about raising the child.
That's what God did, though. Is that not what God did? God unalived his own son in order to change his own opinion about sin in the world. Did he not?
Well, I believe that Jesus is God, but the reason why I believe that.
Okay, so God unalived himself in order to change his own opinion. If I want to change my opinion, I just find convincing evidence and I change my opinion. Like if I have regrets later, then I just change my fucking opinion. I don't need to go out and unalive myself only to come back later and make everybody feel like shit. Like I don't need to do that.
He didn't have to, but I believe that he did it because of the fact that, one, if God is a God, this is my philosophy, by the way. But if God is a God of truth, but then he doesn't know how to be a human and doesn't know what it's like to be a human, how can he judge us for anything if he doesn't know what it's like to be human? If he hasn't been an experience, how can he feel compassion for us or connectivity in any way when he's just sovereign but not intimate with us outside of creating us?
If your God exists, why does he need to do any of that? Why does he feel the need to do any of that? Why all of this seems very ad hoc to me. Like you're just tacking on all of these things in order to make sense to you, which is perfectly fine. Believe whatever in the fuck you want to believe, but like none of this is convincing to me. Like all of this seems very confusing and contrived.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to convince you. I was just trying to say what I believe. I wasn't trying, I respect totally what you believe. I was just saying that my belief is that what we experience here with Jesus is instead of this God where we have to go up to, we have a God that came down to become like one of us, to honestly to understand us, to understand why we don't listen, to understand.
So God's not all knowing?
No, that's what the Bible says.
Well, I mean, generally the Christian line is that God has all knowledge, like he's all knowing. That's one of his benevolent properties. That's
what frustrates me about what Christians believe, because the Bible makes it clear that when it comes to us particularly, he created us to be a free will just like him, a free will spirit. He gave us life. And it actually even goes further in Genesis and said he stepped back to see what Adam was going to name the animals. He didn't like.
Uh-oh. Duke went away from the screen for a second. He may have gotten a call.
He wanted to see Adam create. So I think it was almost like he created us to give us dominion, to give us life, and he wanted to partake in that with us. And then when sin breached that, instead of throwing us away, he saved us.
Okay. Dude, I understand that this is your belief. You're not telling me that I have to believe it or anything like that. I mean, I don't understand why you would want to follow such a genocidal, dipshitty kind of God. It seems to me like this is the exact kind of figure you wouldn't want to follow. But I'm going to give you the last word here right at the end. But I do have one other person to get to before I end the stream tonight. So I'll let you have the last word.
Well, one, I'm sorry if I wasted your time, but I wanted to try.
I don't think that you wasted my. No. I don't think that you wasted my time. I think we had a good conversation here. I was just I got to move on, but I just wanted to give you the last word.
The other thing is that I was also in the Army, and American culture has done terrible things, horrible things. Doesn't claim to be God, but I know that we've done a lot of great good, and we've done a lot of in the world. We've done a lot of great things. I know we have a reputation all over the world for being whatever we are, tyranny. But then some people call us a hero, and so I believe that if we can look at humans with that same dynamic and duality, then we should still be able to consider the fact that, God deals with us in the same way, where he's done great and terrible things. He's operated in his power. He's done all types of stuff. And so I just like to kind of keep that in perspective. I don't know if you got my point, but I do know that even God himself is learning us the same way we are learning him. And talk to you later, man.
All right. See you later there, Duke. Appreciate you.
You too, man.
Thank you, heathens, for tuning in today. What did you think about what my interlocutor said? Do you agree with them, or do you disagree with their statement? Do you think that they made a solid point that should make me believe in God or the existence of Jesus? Let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.